Project for today is going to be this bad boy zero turn. It's a Maverick model. It's not too old a one, but he's got some hours on it and it started losing power, he was saying, and he brought it in and I could tell it was only running on one cylinder. So I checked spark on this side and it didn't have any spark on this side. Every once in a while it would spark and it would fire once in a while, but for the most part it didn't have spark. And then also he got a chunk out of his deck belt. You can kind of see in there where it's starting to delaminate and there's a crack in it there, so he wanted me to replace that for him too. We got a new set of blades for it. These ones were pretty well shot. You can see how thin they're getting on the ends there, and some of the tips have broke off on there. So I'll get you set up and we'll get this engine cover pulled off of here and see what we're dealing with that coil. I am not 100% sure it's the coil. It could be the kill wire or something if a mouse got in there and chewed on it or something, but these were kind of common to have coil issues, so I'm thinking that's what it is. We'll take this air cleaner cover off first. I think I might flip this roll bar up. I'm going to be hitting my head on that otherwise. I got a new air cleaner for it too. Pop that fuel pump off there like that. And it's just a bunch of 8mm bolts. Oh yeah. So this is the one we're after. I am going to try unplugging the kill wire, running it that way just to make sure that's not an issue. And then I ordered a coil for it, I just haven't gotten it yet. It should be here tomorrow, so we'll be able to put that on. I highly recommend wearing safety glasses when you're starting a motor like this. You never know what can come flying out when you have that cover off. You could hear it when it was sparking for a while there, and then once it ran for a little bit, then it lost spark on that side. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be that coil, because I did the move this. It was just kind of a coincidence that it timed out there where That was all it had for spark. I do recommend these plastic pliers like this if you're doing anything with ignition and stuff. You can pull spark plug wires and stuff with it and not get shocked. Because if you've ever been zapped by a spark plug wire, you know that it's quite a bit of voltage coming through there. So the other thing to note is if it was sparking on this side with this kill wire disconnected, when I turn the key off, it should have kept running on one cylinder on this side, because they're not, once it's disconnected, that's the only thing that'll kill this coil. So I know for sure there was no spark on that when I shut the key off, and it died instantly. Well, while we're waiting for that coil, I'll do this deck belt. I did get that, so we'll throw that on there. I'll take these covers off first. This one has a belt diagram down in here on the front of the deck. Otherwise, if you don't find a diagram on the deck if you're changing a belt, I do recommend taking a picture of it so you at least have some frame of reference. Sometimes it can be difficult if the belt is totally shredded and gone, but this one is still intact. You can see that's the bad spot that I saw in there. I think there's another one right there. I've been noticing more and more belt failures on lower hour machines. It's usually due to the laminating, how they make the belts, is where it starts coming apart. There's a crack there and a crack there. It's like every inch or half inch they start peeling apart. I've even had some new ones that did that I had to warranty out, so just something to keep an eye on. If it's still mowing good, just glance at your belts once in a while just to see, because once they fly off they can do some damage. Just checking the pulleys here. That one's got a little bit of slop in it. I'll grab the new belt and we'll fish that through. Tried to get you set up here so you can see what I'm doing. These belts can be kind of hard to get the camera in somewhere. I'm going to go put it around the engine pulley first. It goes up and around here. And over to here, there. here and over to the spindle. You can't see, it's closest to me. It goes through here, like that. I'll leave it off of the spindle farthest over here, so we can fill off the engine pulley here. And then I'll just see if I can pull it over this one. Sometimes it's easier just to do that versus try to fight with that spring. And that looks like it's all on there correctly. And get a view of that belt diagram. If your sticker's gone, if you got one like this, that's the engine there, and it comes forward and goes around, loops around to that front spindle, and then the spindle over there, and then another idler. I'll throw these covers back on. And we'll just flip this back down, and that part will be good to go. And we'll have to wait till tomorrow for that coil, and then we'll just do a basic service on it and throw the new blades on, and this one will be good to go. Alright, I got my new ignition coil. It's a couple days later. Got the actual OEM Kohler one. I don't like any of the aftermarket coils for most stuff. Usually the longevity of them is not as good as the OEM stuff usually. So I always recommend going OEM. Just a couple of 8mm bolts holding it on. And there's the old one. One thing to pay attention to is make sure you don't put them on upside down. Usually if you see like the kill wire is up at the top, that's where you want to put it back. And then you have to gap them to the flywheel. I know I've showed this a few times, but I'll show it again in case you didn't watch any of those videos. They're all pretty close to the same. Some of the chainsaws and stuff, it's a little bit tighter gap, but for most of these small engines like this, you can just use a business card. Just make sure the coil's able to move here, and then spin it till the magnet gets close. If I can get that in there. My card wants to keep sliding on me. It's a good strong magnet, that's for sure. So I got that in there to space it. And I'll tighten it down with a ratchet. You don't want to over tighten these, they're just really little bolts. get you a little better view. So the card in between the magnet there, and we'll just spin it out of there. And you can see the gap there. It's not rubbing. You don't want it rubbing, and you don't want it too close, or too far away, I mean. So that'll work. We'll run the spark plug wire down here. Flip that on, and then we'll put the kill switch wire back on. I'm gonna throw the new air cleaner in here, and then we'll fire it up quick just to make sure that it's got spark on both sides, and then we'll finish putting it together. And we'll try firing it up. Yeah, that sounded really good. I'm thinking that was our issue. So it would run on 2 cylinders for probably 30 seconds or so at the most, and I just ran it for probably 40 seconds or so. So we'll test it out still once I get it all put together, get it good and hot, and make sure it's good. But for now, I finished putting it back together, and then we'll do the service on it, and we'll go test it out. I did reuse the foam pre-filter on the new filter. A lot of times you can blow those out with air, and they get pretty clean. It's when it gets down in the paper part of the filter, it's really hard to clean that out of there. So I only usually clean them one time before I'll replace the filter. Usually it gets packed in there pretty good. The oil filter on these is in a pretty terrible spot. There is a hole down below it, but it still drains all over like the belts and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna try to do that. I'm just stuffed a bunch of this oil absorbent mats underneath there and let that catch it. Otherwise you get oil on the belts and then you get some other problems too. So if I do this fairly quick, we'll put the drain plug back in and fill it up with oil. I got it filled up with oil, and over here to the lift, and we'll lift it up, zip the blades off, and put the new ones on, and we'll be good to test it out. Well, I got the mower out back here ready to test it out. Seems to be running good with that new coil on there. I want to run it through some thicker grass back here just to make sure it's still got... He said it was underpowered, which I'm assuming was just from that coil, but I still like to test everything out. So I'll get you set up and we'll give her a test drive. Oh, we're good. The belt track good and everything. Nothing feels like it got hot or anything. You can usually tell if you grab that belt and it's real hot that it's not tracking correctly. And the motor run good. And that's gonna do it for this one. If you like this sort of thing, like the videos and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.